sit at my desktop. I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna get jump start on this. I'm gonna start editing, and then I see AP writing, and I'm like, I see you.
Did I distract you?
And then I go to my desktop, and I'm like, oh, I need to clear all my icons, and then I'm like, I completely sidetracked. Terrible.
Oh my god.
Okay, all right, ready? AP channeled his inner bit. You ruined it.
Now I ruined it. All right, go.
AP channeled his inner bad guy with villains, and Eric and I left Deadpool really wanting to build a snowman on this week's episode of What You Watchin'. Welcome to What You Watchin', presented by Geeky a Go-Go, a show where we dive into what's currently on our screens. Big screens or little screens, size matter not here, just the quality or lack thereof of our cues. Gentlemen, this week has been an insanely epic week for Ryan Reynolds and Mr. Hugh Jackman. They are the it guys of the interwebs, the media, everywhere. And Eric and I had the absolute pleasure of seeing them on the big screen. Anthony, I mean, we don't have to rat you out.
No, it's fine. It's fine. I did not. I have yet to see it. I don't know when I'm going to see it. I might try to sneak out of my house tonight to go see a showing if I can get tickets.
You're going to have to.
I mean,
have to.
I am going to like the most remote part of Italy. And there's I don't even think there's a store to buy groceries in. I don't know why my wife picked this town.
You're going to go buy a home for $1? That's what it is?
Did you guys buy a house? Is that what I was going to say?
It was $3. Thank you very much. Big spender over here.
Made by AP Italian edition.
That's right. Yes, we're going to be live on location in international waters. But the sad point is, while I will be enjoying the beautiful Amalfi Coast, I will not have the opportunity to see this possibly until I get back a week from tomorrow. So I know I'm not going to avoid spoilers because it's already been spoiled. So you guys just let it all out. Just break it for me. I don't care. I'm sure Ryan Reynolds doesn't care either.
No, we're not going to complete. There are some
I'm spoiling everything.
Now remember though, it was opening weekend. This episode comes out tomorrow, Monday, the Monday after opening weekend. I feel like we can't go too crazy with the spoilers because we're going to really, make mad the few people who listen to this show.
Marvel ruined it already.
All right,
They publicly went out and told everybody about these.
All right. Spoil it away then.
Not only that, they had a lot of movie theaters have been doing the midnight matinees, whatever, to get the weekend started and this and that. There were full-on movie showings early in the morning on Thursday. There was a fan event at the Jersey Gardens AMC at 3 in the afternoon. So there was showings all over the place and numerous showings all day long on Thursday. So they really got to jump on the weekend. Mm-hmm. So this is 4 days, and tomorrow will be 5 days of just full-blown availability to watch these films. So if you haven't seen them yet, I feel bad for you, Anthony. I was willing to be reserved. But Eric is going to tomahawk chop you.
Okay,
let's go.
There it is. All right. Well, how was it? Tell us all about it.
I mean, for me, it was... we were kind of toying around with what are the catchphrases we should say. For me, it was an extremely good welcome to the MCU for both of the characters, right? It was funny, you could there was tension. I mean, for me, the multiverse is getting a little bit tired, but I think they did it really well. With tons of humor, music and basically dancing, which was actually good stunt choreography and whatnot. But super good. tons and tons and tons and tons and tons of cameos throughout the entire film. I'm not going to jump to the disco ball rating yet. I want to hear Eric's thoughts on this. But I think
what's interesting is hold on. It's interesting you said it's a welcome to the MCU. Mm-hmm. To me, it actually didn't feel like welcome to the MCU. It felt more like a goodbye to Fox, like Marvel Universe situation. It felt more like that than yes, it was a nice intro and integration. Mm-hmm. But I felt a little bit more like this is more of a goodbye than anything else.
Okay.
Interesting.
Yeah, I could see that. I see what you're talking about. There's something that happens during the credits that I don't want to completely spoil, but it's definitely worth watching. And I see where Eric's going down the path of that thought. So I'm on board with that, Eric. That's a very cherry on top. I like how you're thinking there.
Good job, Eric.
It definitely. But in that same vein, I think it is, yes, it's a goodbye to one, but it's also a welcome to the other. The thing that I liked the most, or one of the things I liked the most, I should say, was they pulled, because of all those cameos, they pulled many other pieces of IP with them, right? Lots of character appearances that were in other franchises, and just, hey, you're all coming with us. You hop on board to the Deadpool and Wolverine train, and so they weren't like the exact hey, how do we get these people involved? In a subtle way, it was like, nope, you're with us. Let's go. Kind of encompassing the entire thing. So that's how I felt about it. Eric, what are your thoughts? Deeper thoughts?
I think that we knew this was going to be a tricky, because we don't know when they were announcing the phases, you don't know where Deadpool movies come into these phases of MCU. And so it was always going to be interesting how they integrate all these stories. We knew it's going to be cameo heavy. But going back to my earlier thought around this tying together is a lot of what Chris is talking about here around the characters that they pulled in universe. They pulled in a bunch from the current MCU, but I feel like they pulled in a lot more of the past characters that never got a goodbye, right? Like they never got like a send off. And I will say, and I'm pretty much on the internet, but like the cameos that showed up, like you're talking about like far back to the 90s of Marvel characters that were outside of this entire world that got brought in. Yes, and they weren't like. It was surprising actually how heavy of a role that some of these characters played. Like when we talk about cameo, you think that it's gonna be just like they show up for like 3 seconds and maybe they go away. Like there are a few characters with substantial roles that led to the end of essentially the show.
Oh wow.
Which I was really, really kind of impressed by. What I thought was also interesting is a lot of the usual characters from the earlier Deadpool movies, they were just there. They feel more like cameos actually in the show than anything else. Like they were there at the beginning to do a setup, and they were there at the end to do some closing. But I really, really liked it. It was nice and surprising. I think that we went in looking at the Rotten Tomatoes again to see what the critics and like the fan. I think this is another one of those movies where like the fan like loved it, and the critics like, man, now if I have to be critical and take a step back and go like, was this a great movie? I'll be like, I guess it's okay as a standalone movie.
Yeah. But
I think it taps into so much of all the fans and know all the stories and all that kind of stuff, which it made it a very, very enjoyable movie. There were a lot of dancing. The opening credit was pretty much, and the opening scene was pretty much to like NSYNC's Bye Bye Bye.
Come on, really?
And Ryan Reynolds did a full Bye 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 choreography, and it was insanely awesome. Just so well timed too. It's a tap into so much of these kind of nostalgia factors. So I don't know, Anthony. I feel like you need to go out and go see it tonight.
So I might. It depends on who all is still awake by the time we finish recording this. So question for you guys: do you think this? So I believe yesterday at San Diego Comic-Con, Marvel's panel announced that there's going to be 2 new Avengers movies coming out by the Russo brothers in 26 27. Avengers Doomsday, I believe, and something Wars.
Secret Wars.
Secret Wars, thank you. Do you think that we will finally see, now that, Chris, to your point, it's a welcome to the MCU, do you think we'll see Wolverine and Deadpool show up in, because they're not Avengers in the comic, they're not Avengers in the comic, in the Marvel MCU, right? They're just these kind of ancillary characters. Like it's the X-Men over here, it's the Avengers over here, but they're not like in the same. Okay, so do you think we'll see Deadpool, Ryan Reynolds, and Hugh Jackman's Wolverine in any of these upcoming Avengers movies in 25 and 26? No, really?
I don't think so. If Deadpool, not at all. No way. No chance.
Oh, really?
He is not, like, the Avenger films, although can be comedic, they are not of the same vein as Deadpool. No way. I don't think America would allow for a rated R Avengers film. A lot of people would probably like it, but I don't think he belongs there. Like, with Captain America and like things with symbolism and like the greatest Avenger and the strongest Avenger and all those things. It's like, really heroes that people aspire to be and look up to. Whereas Deadpool's like, okay, that's Deadpool. I don't think at all. If Wolverine were to make an appearance, I think it would be an overarching, an X-Men type of thing, right? Okay. Like a whole team cameo, like, hey, we're really down, we're in really bad straits here. We need help from other teams. And then the X-Men show up. That's how I would envision it. I don't know. Eric, what do you think?
Yeah, I don't think they're coming, actually. I think that, and that's why I said I didn't think of this as an intro, like welcome to the MCU. I think they welcome mutants to the MCU. But I mean, I'll just start going to spoilery territory.
Yeah.
We all saw in the trailer that the Time Variant Authority is involved somehow, right? And then so what we found out this time is because the reason that the Deadpool's world is ending is because a very important person in this world is ending, has passed away, and as a result, that timeline is about to disappear because every timeline has an anchor, like an anchor character. In this case, I'm pretty sure, and I need to watch it again, that Deadpool and Old Man Logan like exist in the same universe, and because Logan died, Deadpool's world is ending. And so the whole point is that Ryan Reynolds, Deadpool, need to go find Logan to help him essentially save his world. That's the whole point. So, when I said that they might not show up, is because a lot of these characters that they brought in, I think, is intentionally like alternative characters that could have happened or have happened in the past, right? So even just in the trailer, you saw, there's the trailer where you're facing off against like all the evil villains. These are all alternate universe villains / people who's been there in the past. I don't think any of them are gonna come back to the main timeline, essentially. Which actually, talk about timeline, because I do think that it brings up an interesting point. You talk about like the San Diego Comic-Con announcement. They also announced, what a cop-out, they're bringing back Robert Downey Jr. My God, as Dr. Doom. So, which actually jives pretty well. Actually, I think there was a theory out there that the Fantastic Four was going to be happening in a different timeline. And, because they were doing all these like 60s, I think, or 50s, like motif and kind of ads, right? So, like, I think that the MCU is heading a direction where they're going to be establishing multiple main timelines, possibly, where things are happening. And then I think with like, what's the thing? Doomsday? Doomsday. And I think Secret Wars, I think that's when you're going to start seeing these timelines really crossing back together. So I would just say, like, Deadpool and Wolverine ended with telling you that I don't think these two characters are in the main prime, like, MCU timeline. They're actually in a separate timeline. They could cross timelines, but they're still in that timeline. And I think that, with all the MCU stuff that's happening, I think we're beginning to see a world where there's going to be multiple timelines happening at the same time, with little things kind of cross over between them.
That's kind of the premise of What If, right? The cartoon series on Disney Plus. It's a cheap, I shouldn't say cheap, it's a mechanism to just do whatever you want, right? Because you could say, oh, that's not part of this timeline and we're done here. So it's almost like rebooting it without caring about the original material, the source material, right? Because it's like, okay, whatever. Like, we know Robert Downey Jr. is going to be Victor Von Doom, but is he Tony Stark? Right? Is he Tony Stark, Doctor Doom, or is he Victor Von Doom, completely different character? Well, I don't know. Maybe they're relatives, and so it's like they're twins, and they were separated at birth, and one of them went off, and he got raised in some kind of Bavarian castle, and who knows? Because it's all timeline stuff.
Yeah.
It all remains to be seen in the mind of the timekeepers of the MCU. So I don't know.
I mean, they pretty much did to. I think it's no different than Lucasfilm when they got bought, right? And then all the legends that became legends. But somehow in the last few decades, they start building back in these characters into the main storyline. But their take of it, right? And I think that we're gonna start seeing the same thing, because I still don't think that there has been a meaningful way that mutants have been explained in MCU. But now we're being comfortable with some of these things, and I think it will be interesting in the next few phases of the movies. And I don't even know what's coming out next, to see kind of how these things are going to get introduced into the fold.
That's an interesting theory about Tony Stark. What's his name? Robert Downey Jr. and being. So, do you think? A couple things. First of all, these timeline things. This is why I cannot stand the Marvel Cinematic Universe. It drives me. My fragile brain cannot process all of this stuff, which is sad because I really like some of the movies. Like, there's a lot of good stuff out there, but this whole timeline multiverse crazy. If Star Wars ever goes down the route of a multiverse, I'm going to explode. So I am not a huge Marvel Universe fan, so forgive my ignorance here. Do you think, to your point about kind of like the alternate universe, so do you think Tony Stark will actually be Doctor Doom in an alternate universe, or they're going to reposition Robert Downey Jr., the actor, as a completely different character?
It's a different character. There has to be a different character. There's no way it's Tony Stark. Tony Stark's dead. I don't think they'll touch Tony Stark again.
In one timeline.
Correct. But
see?
That's why I'm saying this is gonna be, I bet, the Fantastic Four.
Yeah.
And Victor Von Doom and all their associated characters, Silver Surfer, all these kind of things. I bet all these things are happening in another timeline, and something disastrous happened, and it ended up in the prime Marvel timeline.
Okay. All
right. That's how they get introduced. And I bet there's going to be things like, wow, you look just like Tony Stark. Like, they're going to have a throwaway line in there somewhere.
Sure.
But also remember, like, Robert Downey Jr. was 20 years younger when he was filming as Iron Man. Like, right. And now he's becoming a different actor. It is very possible they're just going to position him that way and just go like, this is a whole different kind of dude in makeup and all that kind of stuff. I don't know.
That'll be interesting. Because I don't think we've yet seen a recycled actor in a we have? Who?
Oh, he's not an MCU character. Although now he is an MCU character. And Eric knows what I'm talking about, but it's a huge spoiler, and I do not want to ruin it for you.
Okay.
Wait, hold on.
I know.
Are you talking about from this movie, Chris?
This movie.
There was a recycled actor.
I'll give you one hint, Eric.
Oh, yes. Okay. Oh, okay. The one thing I did not want to spoil for Anthony. So.
Oh, okay. All right.
There are two characters.
Yeah.
That I did not want to spoil for you.
Okay. All right.
In this movie.
But they are recycled actors that were playing one character in the MCU, and now they're playing a new character in the MCU.
Let us just say that similar to Ryan Reynolds, who has had multiple character appearances in Marvel properties in the past, actually superhero properties in general, so has this gentleman.
Okay. Oh, ooh. Okay, so now we know the gender. Okay, all right.
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay, cool. Oh, okay. God damn it. We'll see if I can try to get to it tonight. I can't make any promises.
I will just say that since we're going, I'm just gonna go spoil this damn thing because come at me, 3 listener to this podcast. So, imagine the world, like, just anything. Think about all the superhero Marvel movies that has happened in the past. Like, there were only maybe 1 or 2 that I was surprised did not make a cameo in Chris, but then I realized those might not have been Fox Marvel movies. I think these are characters that belong to some other random studio that didn't make the cut. But like, if you just think back to all the movies, I'm talking like all the way back. You're talking like,
I'm trying to think like, no. So there's the obvious is Sony. Then there's Fox.
Universal.
Was that Fantastic Four? One of the original Fantastic Fours?
Like the Hulk is owned by Universal.
Oh, okay.
Right. Oh, got it. All right.
Yeah, the only other one that I thought of was New Line Cinema. But he's in this.
So hold on. Okay. Damn it. Oh, so you're like throwing things. So it was a New Line Cinema Marvel movie.
No, the character we're specifically talking about is not New Line.
Oh, okay. Got it.
I wonder who owns. I will just say someone who did not show up. Ghost Riders didn't show up.
Yeah. I don't even know what studio that was.
Like. Oh, okay. I just looked it up. No, Ghost Riders back with the MCU. It was with Sony, and Sony destroyed those movies, and so Marvel got the rights back, and so Ghost Rider already showed up in like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. So that isn't really like a brand new thing.
Got it. Nice.
But Anthony, man, like I will say, are some of the things that's being leaked. So Daphne King, who we just saw in The Acolyte, played a nice role in this movie.
Nice.
X-23.
Okay. Oh, she is a mutant. Okay.
Well, she showed up for the first time in Logan. That's how the world knew of Daphne King.
Oh, no way.
She's a little girl.
No kidding. Oh my God. I had no idea. That was such a good movie too. Okay.
Well, so she's back.
Okay. All right. And she's playing the same character.
Yes.
Yeah. Wow. Okay.
Oh God, the other 3 is just so good. I don't want to keep on going deep into it, Chris.
All right, Anthony, your choices are 10:10 p.m., 11:10 p.m., 11:30 p.m., 10:40 p.m., 12:01 a.m.
All right.
Okay?
And just to drive Chris's point home, I just looked up a movie theater in the Amalfi Coast, which there is only one. Your only choice is Inside Out 2 or something to do with the Despicables. So that's what you got.
Who knew the Amalfi Coast was so family friendly with their cinema selection? Despicable Me and Inside Out 2. All right. So okay. I know I have to see this. I feel like I'm dragging our episode down today by not having seen it. I apologize to you two and our listeners, but I will go see it. And I will give you my unfiltered review when we regroup. So disco. Any last words before you share your disco balls?
Let's go for it. Disco balls.
Disco balls.
Eric, go ahead.
I'm gonna give this a 4. I thoroughly enjoyed it. It's a solid 4. Story wise, I didn't think it moved anything forward all that much. But as a fan, I very much enjoyed it. And like I said, I continue to be surprised by just how well the story kind of came together. So that's a 4 from me.
Nice.
I'm going to put it in a realm of superhero films.
Okay.
But it's getting a 5.
What? What?
It is. So not on the scale of is this going to win Academy Awards and Screen Actors Guild Awards or anything like none of that. Okay, we're what is it called, the bell curve or whatever. We're taking that aside and putting it into the category of superhero films, and it's getting a solid 5 disco balls. It's just it's hilarious. The actors are good. It is 100% fan service. There's tons and tons of little Easter eggs in it. I thought I saw articles that said like the 100 Easter eggs in Deadpool and Wolverine, and I'm like, I didn't even catch that many, or maybe I did. I didn't consider it an Easter egg. It's great, fantastic, funny film.
Just to let you know, Anthony, the kind of characters that Fox produced starting in the year 2000 include X-Men, X2, Daredevil, Elektra, Fantastic Four, X-Men: The Last Stand, was all these Fantastic Four and X-Men movies. Deadpool, and those are just some of the movies that you can draw from some of these characters that might be showing up.
All right. Wow. Okay. Awesome. All right. So 4 and a 5, average it out to 4.5. I think that's probably one of our highest rated disco balls so far out of 30, almost 40 episodes. Wow. Yep. Okay. Very cool. Very cool.
Anthony, since you didn't watch Deadpool Wolverine, what did you watch?
Are you going to make fun of another Eastern European horror film somewhere?
And get called out about it? I actually gave a very nice review of that movie, and I'm glad I did, because the star of the movie actually commented on our video on YouTube. So I'm glad it wasn't Torben who was listening to the shade I threw at his high school musical performance beard.
Fakey McBeard face.
Fakey McBeard face. Master Fakey McBeard face. All right. So I didn't watch anything nearly as cool as Deadpool and Wolverine. So I watched the movie Villains. And I actually watched this a little while ago, and I'm reviewing it now because I kind of mentioned it when I did my review of Longlegs. Villain stars Maika Monroe, who was in Longlegs, with Bill Skarsgard, and Jeffrey Donovan and Kira Sedgwick. And so they're the 4 primary actors in this film. And pretty much the film, the premise is Maika Monroe and Bill Skarsgard, I believe they just robbed a gas station or something like that, armed robbery. They zoom off, and then they get into a car accident, and they have to run into the woods, and they find this big house that looks like no one's home. And so they break into the house just to try to recuperate, get something to eat, and try to figure out what to do next, when all of a sudden the owners of the house show up, which is Kira Sedgwick and Jeffrey Donovan. Kira Sedgwick, I haven't actually seen her in anything recently. This is probably the most recent thing I've seen her in. She is Miss Kevin Bacon. She was in lots of movies in the 80s and 90s. Jeffrey Donovan, he is in Burn Notice and a bunch of other TV shows. Law and Order, he does lots of Law and Order stuff. But it's this couple, you almost get this vibe that they're in the South, like Georgia. They have these thick Southern accents, and they're trying to diffuse the situation of the fact that these 2 people broke into their house, and then all of a sudden the tables turn, and this nice, sweet Southern type of couple imprisons Bill Skarsgård and Maika Monroe, and they have to escape for survival. You almost get these vibes of, did you guys ever see The People Under the Stairs? Wes Craven, early 90s, kid breaks into this creepy old house, and come to find out there's all these people that have been locked up in the basement, and they've become albino because they haven't seen the light in years and years. Anyway, you get that kind of vibe from this film, where you have this nice, loving, seemingly loving couple, and then all of a sudden they're very nefarious, and they're very wicked people, and they lock up Bill Skarsgård, Maika Monroe. It is a borderline dark comedy thriller. I wouldn't call it a horror at all. A lot of fun. Came out in 2019, I believe. I put it in the show notes, but my show notes have closed. I believe it's streaming on Amazon Prime, as well as Peacock, AMC Plus, if you have that. Yeah, it's billed as a comedy/drama/horror on IMDb. So definitely check it out. I would give it I'll give it a 3.5 disco balls. It was a fun watch. It's always nice to see actors do different things. Like Bill Skarsgard, he is a very talented actor. He's been Pennywise. He's been one of the antagonists in the John Wick series. He's now plays this goofy gas station robber / victim in Villain. So it's fun to kind of see people stretch their acting chops. And the same with Maika Monroe. She's just a wonderful actor to watch. So yeah, 3.5 disco balls for The Villains on Amazon Prime.
Nice. When did that come out? That's not a recent film, is it?
It's not. It's 2019. It was actually, I think it premiered at the South by Southwest Film Festival in 2019, and that's where it picked up its small distribution. I don't even know who the distributor of it is, but we were just looking for something to watch, and this looked interesting. Oh yeah, Sony Pictures is the distributor. Universal. Let's see. Gunpowder and Sky is the U.S. distributor. Never heard of them. Sony is their non-U.S. distributor. Comes from Braun Studios. Braun Studios did the Ghostbusters, most recent Ghostbusters movies as well. Braun Studios does a lot of really interesting films. So, yeah,
Nice.
Definitely check it out.
Cool.
Wait, and just to tie into our earlier point, I think this is the movie that he did right after Deadpool's 2, which I didn't even know he was in Deadpool's 2.
Oh, with Skarsgård, I am about to hand over my nerd card. I have yet to see Deadpool 2. I know.
You need to see it for this. You don't need to see it for this movie. You don't need to see it to see this movie.
And I love Deadpool 1. Deadpool's probably my favorite MCU character, but I just haven't seen Deadpool 2 yet. There's so much stuff to watch out there. I mean, I listen to this podcast called Geeky a Go-Go, and they're just constantly churning out their favorite shows, and my queue is just exploding. All right, Chris, back to you. What's your round 2? Are we doing a round 2 today?
Sure,
we're
we'll
running
do a round 2.
tight on type. Okay. What's your round 2?
We'll do quick. Okay.
Okay.
In the vein of superheroes, right? And the Merc with the mouth, right? That's what his name is. I finished watching The Boys season 3. Holy bloody cow, Batman! That show doesn't cease to amaze me in their creative ways to off people. It's just one after the other after the other. I'm like, whoa, I didn't know that they were gonna do that. It's for me, like, a gratuitous violence aside, right? I think it's pretty funny. It is a little too realistic with its political tendencies in the current state of the world. But it kind of is like trying to make you understand what would happen in current politics if you throw superheroes into the mix, which is kind of like what The Watchmen did, right, back in the 80s. So I think that's why I kind of like The Boys, but I thoroughly enjoyed it. I do enjoy The Boys season 3. I'm looking forward to a season 4. I'm pretty I don't think they announced it or anything like that, but there's no way that they're going to leave it where they have left it, unless the cast just is like, we're all walking away from this. We're not doing this anymore. I think that's the only way this show could get ruined. Yeah, I like The Boys season 3, and the whole show in its entirety. So yeah, I keeping it quick, I definitely recommend watching it if you haven't. This specific season, I will give it 4 disco balls.
Wow, you're very generous with your disco balls today.
Yes.
Once again, being very loose with his balls.
Loose with his balls, but that, it's the shiny disco balls. You just want to give them all.
Balls for everybody.
I did hear they had to rename the last episode of the season due to current event.
Last 2 episodes.
Oh yes. Yep.
They had to put a disclaimer up, and yes, there was a renaming of the episode title, I think. But yeah, I mean,
that's
like
I
said,
I do love The Boys.
is very, very, like I said, very close to real world politics right now. So, with that aside, remember, this is fantastic in the sense that it's a fantasy. It is a work of fiction, but sometimes art imitates life and vice versa. So yeah, that's it. Eric,
You're right. Hold on. One thing about the boys. I have not. So I finished season 1. I never watched season 2 or season 3. I just couldn't get into it. I want to get back into it. But you're right about they have like no lack of creativity when it comes to killing off people. I think the first episode of the entire series doesn't like the fast guy like run through someone and it's just blood everywhere.
That's that's a first season.
It's the first. Yeah, right. Exactly. Like that's just spectacular.
I mean, there are some classic ways in season 2.
Yeah.
That happened. Mm-hmm. Speaking of fantastic deaths, I mean, I'm just saying Deadpool and Wolverine also had some fantastic death scenes. So, also rated R.
Okay.
Eric, do you want to buy Anthony his ticket to like ensure that he's going to go so he doesn't feel bad he's wasting your money?
We really should.
Let me see if everybody's asleep upstairs. If everybody's asleep, I'll just leave.
Nice.
It's like, where did Dad go?
Where's Daddy? Daddy's at the movie theater. So he can be as cool as his friends.
Cool.
All right, sorry, Eric.
Eric, what you watching?
No disco balls associated with what I'm doing right now, but the Olympics is happening this week. It's gonna be happening for the next 2 weeks. I'm a big fan of the Olympics, both winter and summer, and so I've been just following up on all sorts of Olympics around the clock. I've been also watching some European streams of the Olympics, so I'm getting a lot of coverage. I think NBC, when they cover the Olympics, they select the more US centric ones where Americans are gonna do very, very well, which makes sense. But for example, today I saw a really thrilling competition between the U.S. women's soccer team against the Germans. Fantastic. There was some excitement already in the world of, I think, archery, where it came down to like I don't know what the term for is, but it's like a shootout between the two teams. It was really sick. It's like so close to the point where they're taking out magnifying glasses to measure things. Some swimming competitions already been happening, and Simone Biles has been like crushing, I think, like breaking social record again. That's happening. So really excited. Breakdancing, I think, is a sport for the first time. I'm excited to see kind of how that actually works in the Olympics.
Did that start yet?
Yeah, I don't think. I'm not sure actually. I haven't seen it, but that's a new one that I'm looking forward to. Other than that, I think I'm just excited for Olympics. That's happening this week.
Did you catch the opening ceremony?
I sure did.
Thoughts?
I sure did. As someone who used to run events for a living, I think major points for creativity, I think, to the Paris Organizing Committee, where obviously, I think in the early days of planning it, they want to say Paris should be an essential part of this thing, right? And, they like... the March of Nations is down, the Parade of Nations is down like 4 miles of a river, right? Like, that's impressive, right? They had events happening all across the city of Paris, essentially throughout the whole opening ceremony. What was disappointing were, I think some of these things they tried to go too avant-garde on this. They went too French on some of these things, which it is what it is. But I went, would I have done that? That seems like only you guys will appreciate this. And then, two, I mean, gosh, you can't, there's just certain things that doesn't make sense when you're out in the wild. Like, camera position wasn't great. Some of these things wasn't great. Like, there are things where I remember there's just a bunch of people walking around. Like, these are people who are like, I was like, why are these walking around on a bridge? Oh, they're trying to get to that next thing. And then 3, like the weather, like unfortunate, like obviously it's an outdoor venue. I mean, I think this is for the first time that anyone has ever done like this. People usually doing a stadium for a reason. They did it outdoor and it started raining like 10% into the show. And there are just things they're just taken away. But you can see the vision, right? Like the spoiler alert, they ended with like, they lit the cauldron. The cauldron is a hot air balloon that flew into the sky. And now it's going to be lit there in the city of Paris for the next 2 weeks. That is sick. Like, that's cool. Imagine if you see that. That's really sick. And then like talk about cameos. Like Celine Dion saved the entire opening ceremony. I mean, my goodness, like she just I was like, oh, there's Celine Dion, and then there she is at the Eiffel Tower singing and being a good old Celine, and like get me like I was like, thank God she saved like the meandering mess that was kind of happening a little before this thing, and but so I will say, gosh, I think great vision. I think reality struck when it comes to execution, which is very disappointing, I think, for a lot of people. So that was my thought. What about you? What'd you guys think? You guys saw it?
I only caught the little bit of the beginning of the opening ceremony because I had to go to work. But for me, it was weird, and understandably why. But I've always known the opening ceremony to start with like a whole performance and like history of the country and whatnot, which the French did do. But when I turned the TV on, it started with a parade of athletes, and I'm like, did I miss this? I thought it was starting now, but because it's like you said, it's a 4-mile thing through a river, and you have to get hundreds of people, thousands of athletes on boats, and just literally parade them through the Seine. I was like, okay, it kind of makes sense that they have to start this like concurrently as everything is going on. And then I found it weird, and I'm sure people could beat me up about this, but as much as a Francophile as she is, why would you start the show with Lady Gaga? She's an American, right? Like,
Celine Dion is not French either.
I mean, she French Canadian. I'll buy that a little bit more than Lady Gaga. Yeah. Like I said, she speaks French. I've seen her in interviews. I don't speak any French at all, so I can't judge her. But she knows what she's doing, and I'm like, why would you start with an American? And like I said, good for international relations. But I was like, all right, cool. Like, props to you guys for scoring one of the top world talents to sing a song in complete French. So, but that's all I got. Like, as Lady Gaga was performing, I had to head out to work, so I didn't really get to see much else.
Yeah, I 100% agree with that. I did. There are things where I go, you could have selected an old French, I think, performer. Like, it was strange. Like, especially, think about it. Toward the end, like, why was Serena Williams there to kind of like handing out the torch toward the end? Like, it feels like you should have been highlighting a lot more French athletes toward the end of that entire thing.
Snoop Dogg.
Yeah. Well, Snoop Dogg is wonderful, and Snoop Dogg should be in every single event and commentating on all the things.
Snoop Dogg holding a blunt-shaped thing that's on fire. I was
they interviewed him before he went. They're like, "Oh, Snoop, like, exciting to see you go into the Olympics to commentate on things." Which, if you don't know why, look up Snoop Dogg and Kevin Hart commentating on the Olympics last like a few years ago. Fantastic. And then Snoop Dogg is returning to provide his unique perspective. And one of the interviewers was like, Snoop, marijuana is illegal in France. And he's like, I know the law. I'm going to observe the law. I'm like, yeah, okay.
Cool. Awesome. I mean, look, the parade, the Olympics in general is one of the nearest and dearest things that I hold to me. I actually attended the Olympics in Greece. So I know Eric likes to bust my chops about how Greek I am. That's how Greek I am. I actually went to the Olympics in Greece.
Everybody like to bust your chop about how Greek you are.
You're almost too Greek.
Exactly. But no, it's a showcase of all the world's best. And so I wish the best to all the athletes. I hope everyone gets golds that they want to get, or that earn the golds. And I think it's a good thing in general. There's things that I wouldn't do, but that's time for another podcast, and probably not a geeky podcast. But yeah, that's it. Any other final thoughts? Anthony, do you have anything for it?
Much like Wolverine and Deadpool, I did not see the Olympics either. Hey guys, knock knock.
Who's there?
Not Anthony.
just like this weekend.
I took your first joke and I spun it a little bit. Oh my God.
All right, Anthony,
All right.
what else did you not watch?
I watched this. I'm going to be very quick about it. It's called The Gift 2015. It's written and directed by Joel Edgerton, produced by Jason Blum, who's produced pretty much every horror and thriller of the last 30 years, 20 years, it seems like. It also stars Jason Bateman and Rebecca Hall. Everybody remembers Rebecca Hall from Godzilla X Kong. She is the scientist that goes down into, what is it, Middle Earth to help them all out down there. Pretty much Jason Bateman and Rebecca Hall are a power couple, and they move back to Jason's kind of hometown area because he just accepted a big job. I think he's like in the LA area. And as they're kind of moving things in, Joel Edgerton shows up, and Joel Edgerton's character Gordo went to high school with Jason Bateman's character, and Jason Bateman doesn't remember him. Anyway, Edgerton starts leaving gifts like welcome presents and stuff like that, and they get their strange, gifts, and then things just start getting weird and uncomfortable to a point where Jason Bateman's like, "Look, I don't want you part of my life." Anyway, bad stuff starts happening, and come to find out there's a bit of a history possibly from the high school days that I'm not going to spoil, but it is a lot of fun. It's a good mystery, a good thriller. It's fun to see Joel Edgerton play these parts. For those of you who are Star Wars fans, that is Owen Lars, a young Owen Lars from The Phantom Menace. He's also currently in Dark Matter on Apple TV Plus, which is a really good show. I'll probably be covering that in a couple weeks. I'll give that one another 3.5 disco balls as well. It's currently streaming on Netflix. But again, if you're looking for a good drama, mystery, thriller, definitely check this one out.
I have seen the movie. I didn't know he wrote and directed it. That's a surprise.
Right? Yeah. I don't know if he's
that's cool.
done that since then, but yeah, it actually is pretty good. It's a good movie.
Yeah. I mean, that's surprising. That actually made me appreciate that movie a little more.
Actually, I'm going to check him out right now to see if he's... what else has Joel Edgerton written and directed? He has a lot going on right now. Past television, Self, other... I don't see production credits. Oh, well. Yeah.
Cool. All right.
I feel like I've disappointed you, too, this episode. I feel like I've just let you down. I didn't watch Wolverine. I didn't watch the Olympics. I just got my little thriller horror movies over here.
Listen, the Olympics is sports, okay? Every nerd in the world gets a pass for sports, okay? But you do not get a pass for seeing the summer blockbuster in geekdom, okay? Yes. Okay. You did well up until now, watching all the episodes of The Acolyte on time. Okay, yeah. But you completely dropped the ball.
Totally dropped the ball.
But like I said, you could go see it tonight on all those showtimes I listened to previously.
And then I could record just me giving it a review and insert it into.
Totally should.
All right, take us home.
Nice. All right, folks. Do you want more Geeky A Go-Go? Well, make sure you're following us on all the socials at Geeky A Go-Go and share with us what you're watching. Want cool stuff? Want to connect with us on a higher level, like on our Discord channel? Head on over to patreon.com/geekyagogo and support the show. You'll get awesome swag and other perks. If you haven't done so already, make sure you're following the show on your favorite podcast platform and leave us a review. Thanks so much for listening. Peace out, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Bye. Bye. Bye.
Deadpool. Bye. Bye. Bye.